How's it going, everyone? My name's Graham and welcome to Two Left Thumbs. I'm here today to talk to you about Double Fine's latest Amnesia Fortnight. For those of you who are unfamiliar, Double Fine Productions, the development team behind games like Psychonauts and Broken Age, takes 2 weeks off during the year to prototype a bunch of different games. I'm not sure exactly how many times they've run this in the past, but they did public Amnesia Fortnight similar to this year back in 2014 and 2012. Games like Costume Quest and Stacking came from non-public Amnesia Fortnights, but the more recent games Hack and Slash and Space Base DF9 came from these public Amnesia Fortnights. Different members of the Double Fine team give their 30-second pitches of games they'd like to see made. For just $1 over on the Humble Bundle page, you can cast your votes for the prototypes you'd like to see made. You have 25 to choose from, and you can vote for as many of them as you'd like. In previous Amnesia Fortnights, the top voted entries were made into prototypes. This year's a little bit different. The top 2 voted entries by the public will get made, the top voted entry from the Double Fine team will get made, and Tim Schafer, the head of Double Fine, will choose one game himself. The Double Fine staff will get split into 4 teams and they'll spend 2 weeks prototyping these games. I think it's really smart to do it this way instead. With the Double Fine team picking a project, they'll know they'll be selecting something that they'll be genuinely interested in making. And Tim has a really good eye for this stuff, and I'm sure in the past, projects he really wanted to see made slipped under the radar. I generally love game jams, but Amnesia Fortnight is probably my favorite one. The idea of this full dev team taking 2 weeks to just do an internal game jam just sounds like a really fun work environment, and it provides a really great opportunity for like an assistant programmer or like a concept artist or something like that to have a game of theirs made. Each idea includes a 30-second pitch as well as a short write-up. It looks like they put more effort this year into adding some flair to the pitches, which I really appreciate. It really gives you a better sense of what the end game might look like. I went through the 25 different pitches and I've put together a list of the games that I personally will be voting for, the games that I think the public is likely to pick, which might not fit with my choices exactly, the game that I think the team will like, and the game that I think Tim will select. It's a little way for me to try to convince you guys to maybe vote with me so I could see the games made that I want to see made, but it'll also just be fun to have some predictions out there. So first up, my own picks in no particular order. My first one is The Gods Must Be Hungry. The sales pitch on this game was Burger Time meets Attack on Titan, packaged as a Japanese game show. The setting sounded great, but I liked the idea of the intriguing combination of like platformer gameplay as well as cooking mini-games. And it said it was going to include these silly commentators who are coaching you through cooking, and that immediately made me think of the more recent game Clone Drone in the Danger Zone. So I think this is generally a home run idea, and then it also fits within that goofy Double Fine brand, so I think this one is easily my top pick. Next up, I'll be voting for Play Nice, a game where you play as a weird, creepy puppet or dummy similar to Chucky. You're the bad guy trying to kill and scare humans, and you move around with silly ragdoll movements, which I'm always a fan of. I'm picturing kind of something like Octodad there. It sounds like a perfect combination of like creepy, scary, and just hilarious, so I think that one could be a lot of fun. When I read the write-up for Kiln, I wasn't particularly interested, but I think this might have been one of the most effective pitches of this year. It was a very well outlined game, and the artwork that accompanied really sold me on the idea. You make your characters out of like pottery on the fly, and so sometimes you'll have a really top-heavy guy where you got like all this weird misshapen stuff, and then you have to battle within the physics of the crazy character that you built, and so your guy might just fall over or whatever, and there'll be destructible surroundings, and your character will shatter and everything. And it just sounded like it could have a lot of fun and a lot of replay value while you experiment with your different character molds. And the last one I'm for sure voting for, I might vote for some others as well, but Darwin's Dinner. And I'm a little uncertain about this one because I love the idea, and I'm having a really hard time deciphering whether anyone else will. You live on a little island and you have to hunt creatures on the island. If there's a population of bunnies and you kill the slow ones, next year the bunnies are going to be fast and you might starve. It's got this awesome balance of biological, ecological systems that I'm a huge sucker for in games, and the idea of evolving and changing the ecosystem on the island is just fantastic. It's a wonderful concept. I feel like I have a very clear idea of how the game would play after just a short 30-second pitch. I worry that all the different branches of evolution and different creature types and everything might be a bit too much to tackle in 2 weeks, and so I'm a little skeptical if it'll turn out how I'm imagining it. I really hope that people give this one a chance because I think it's one of the more creative ideas this year. I have a few honorable mentions of games I haven't quite decided if I'll be casting a vote for or not. The first up is Video Games Inc. So this is a simulation tycoon type game where you're working on building a video game. I know there are lots of games out there like it, but this one had the unique idea of adding multiplayer, and so different people within your team could be in charge of graphics and programming and marketing, things like that, and the cooperative element I think could add something really fascinating to this game. In Symphonic Strife, you play as a composer who's composing his masterpiece while wall jumping and sliding and swinging his composer stick all over the place. It sounded like a really interesting concept, and I can see that there's something there, but the pitch just lacked a greater depth of gameplay. It's hard for me to imagine what would be in the game other than the music and the jumping. It starts to sound more like a tech demo than a full game. Pretty Warriors vs. the Chaos Gem was sold as a board game video game where some players will play as a team of Pretty Warriors and one player will play as the villainess, and the idea is that the Pretty Warriors are trying to take down the big villain at the end. There's not enough board game video games out there. I'm thinking like Mario Party, something like that, so this is intriguing to me. Unfortunately, the pitch didn't give enough info on the actual gameplay. It only talked about the setting, and so I don't know if this is something I really want to support. Since this year's being broken down into 2 public picks, 1 team pick, and 1 Tim pick, I'd like to share the 4 games under those categories that I think probably will get voted for. A Slice of Heaven was sold to everyone as being a Star Fox 64 style rail shooter with roguelite elements similar to The Binding of Isaac and Rogue Legacy. That sounds like a winning combination to me. It was hard to visualize exactly how that might play out, so it didn't land on my own list, but I imagine people are going to be very thrilled when they hear that pitch. I also think The Gods Must Be Hungry is also going to get passed through. I already mentioned that one. It's just a very unique idea, very well sold in the pitch. I think that one's a shoo-in. I think Darwin's Dinner might be a bit of an upset. It might win out over A Slice of Heaven if I've underestimated how intriguing that is to people who aren't biologists. I think the Double Fine team is likely to pick I Have No Idea What I'm Doing. It's a virtual reality game with a bunch of WarioWare-like silly mini-games where I was a little confused by it. I think the guy with the virtual reality goggles is seeing one thing and everyone around him is seeing something else, and they're trying to coach him through how he needs to be playing the mini-game. It sounded like a really fun idea, but being only VR, I'm sure is going to exclude it from being picked by the fans. But I bet the Double Fine team has a lot of funny ideas for it already. They can envision themselves having fun playing it, and so I think there's a strong chance that they'll vote for it so that they can just play it themselves. And finally, Tim's pick. He's very obviously, without a doubt in my mind, going to pick Bad Golf 3. Bad Golf 3! Bad Golf 3! Bad Golf 3! Bad Golf 3! I'm very proud of the few of you who understood that joke. My theory here is that Tim would pick The Gods Must Be Hungry, but I'm so confident that that one's already getting picked that Tim will have no need to. Tim will be really incentivized to steer clear of anything that feels too familiar, whether it be a game they've already made or something that they've done in a past Amnesia Fortnight. So despite being a really charming idea and fitting along nicely with the Double Fine catalog, I don't think the Lunar Gazette will get picked. That would have been something I could see Tim leaning towards, but in my mind it feels a little similar to Dear Leader, which had just been released in the Amnesia Fortnight 2012. I'm pretty uncertain on this one, but I think he might end up picking Liz Miserable. It is an adventure game, which Double Fine has done a lot of, so that's the only reason I think Tim might shy away from it, but it's one of the most truly unique ideas from this year. It's an adventure game that plays out as a musical, and they're gonna build actual sets, I think as dioramas, and film them for the action to play out in. And James, who pitched the idea, had a lot of cool ideas about narrative branches in this story here. So whereas I picked games that sounded the most fun to me, I think Tim is going to be on the lookout for games that would never get made outside of Amnesia Fortnight. Les Miserables is a game that I just don't think you can pitch to a developer. And even if it is a unique creative idea, I don't see it getting made. And so Amnesia Fortnight is going to be the one chance to try and get this prototype out there and see if it works. And a huge part of Amnesia Fortnight is looking for experimental, creative new ideas. And so I think, I'm pretty uncertain on this, but I think Tim will end up picking Les Miserables. When I say it would never get made otherwise, I'm not trying to be rude to James. I think it's just too out there of an idea, and without a prototype, it's too hard to pitch to people. So those are my picks for Amnesia Fortnight 2017. Let me know down in the comments if you think I'm way off base. What did you end up picking? What do you want to see get made? What do you think Tim and the team will end up picking? I'm really curious to hear what you guys think. We'll know in about a week how right or wrong I actually was, and that'll be really interesting to see. And in about 3 weeks, we'll actually have the prototypes to play, and I'll for sure be playing all of them here on the channel, so I'm really looking forward to that. Good luck to everyone over at Double Fine. I'm really looking forward to seeing what you guys come up with. Thanks again for making this public, involving the fans. It's awesome. It's such a great way to engage the community, and we all love it. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you're interested in donating to both Double Fine and charity, I'll have links down below. You can donate $1 to cast your vote, $5 to follow the daily videos as well as past prototypes from Amnesia Fortnight, and $15 to unlock a bunch of other Double Fine games. And no, I wasn't paid to say this, I'm just a big fan. So I'll see you guys again soon.